Welcome back to Vital MX and another video brought to you by the crew at Yoshimura R&D of America. Check them out at yoshimura-rd.com. I'm your host, Michael Lindsay, and today we're going to be talking about some of the purse and payout updates for the 2023 Monster Energy Supercross Championship. We're going to show you what the guys made at A1 from the purse provided by the promoters, Feld Motorsports. And we're also going to talk about how these purse updates are affecting the entire year, both for Supercross, Pro Motocross, and the Super Motocross Championship. Because if you were looking at announcements when the Super Motocross World Championship was announced via the two promoters both working on it together, Feld Motorsports and MX Sports, they claimed that there would be a $10 million purse given out to athletes this year. As we got a little closer to racing time, we learned that that $10 million figure was across the whole season, Supercross, Motocross, and Super Motocross. So just based off some quick math, what in Supercross and Motocross were paying before was a combined total of a little over 3.7 million. So if you deduct that from the 10 million they claim they will be paying out over the complete total of 2023, of course that leaves us with a little under $6.3 million left to go. So again, we were curious, how is that all going to be distributed? Because we found out that entire amount was not going to be in Super Motocross, even though a good chunk of it will be. And some of that additional purse would be added into the Supercross Championship and the Pro Motocross Championship. There was not a formal announcement made before the opening round at A1 that was going to show that off. So we were able to get a copy of the 23 purse payouts for both the 450 class and 250 class from a rider that raced the event. We then compared it to the historical numbers we have. And when we say historical, we mean we have a copy of the 2022 450 purse, but we don't have a recent copy of 250. The oldest or newest available one found online was from 2017. We've reached out to Feld Motorsports for an official answer on what the 2022 one is. We know it's slightly different than 17. We think in 22 it was slightly elevated, not a drastic amount, but we still haven't gotten an official response on what that looks like. So for now, we're using the 2017 250 purse to compare into this. It is going to be a little bit off compared to 22 if we were able to get it, but from what we're also aware, it's not drastic. It's within a few percent. So the first thing we're going to bring up on the screen for you guys to check out here is the new 250 purses. Again, we're comparing 2017 as it's the most recent we have compared to 2023. And the first thing you'll notice is actually a decent jump for this class. For a long time, the 250 Supercross class has just had poor payout compared to the 450s, where a 450 guy making a main, barely making it in the main or even making the night show was at least going home with $2,000, $1,500, $1,800, enough to at least maybe pay for some flights and some of the costs actually took to go racing that weekend. The 250 class for a long time was leaving with $800, $500, etc. They've really brought the 250 class up this year. They've got it pretty close to the 450, and it has seen the largest change with over double the amount to the total purse payout. The top couple positions definitely got a bump, but we're also excited to see that it definitely went deeper into the field. So, of course, first place, the old purse was $3,350, and now the new first place is $6,000. So not quite double there, but then you get deeper into the field. The guys getting 15th place who went from making $908 to $2,060 for ninth. The guy who got 22nd in the main, making $838 on the old purse, is now making $2,000. Then you get into the LCQ, and again, this is the guys that are grinding it out every weekend that aren't quite making the big show. Big difference for them. Fifth place in the LCQ used to be $576. It was $576 for every position in the main on the 2017 purse. For 23, though, it's $1,600 for fifth, then $1,500 for sixth, and then goes down $1,400, $1,300, $1,200, $1,100, blah, blah. It bottoms out at $1,000, just about double of what it used to be for the guys just floating around in 22nd and LCQ. Again, I know we wish that it was higher in our sport, but this is definitely the biggest step in the right direction we've seen for the 250 class in a long time. Again, this is not meant as offense to some of the guys back of the pack of the 250 LCQ, the guys that are barely making the night show, but I think in all honesty, yeah, we'd like to see more for these guys. We'd like to see the sport pay out more, but I also think in respect, some of the guys in the lower part of that field also have to be a bit more professional, have to be fully training. I know they're trying, but when you see some of their programs compared to some of their guys racing, even not at factory level, but even at lower level teams that are privateers, some of them just aren't maybe putting in the full effort. So I think there also could be a counter argument. Does everybody just get paid a lot just because they showed? Or do we focus on more again at that 10th to 20th in the main and that little bit of early spots in the LCQ where those guys are really putting in work, really putting on a show, making passes versus the guys just kind of rolling around in the back of the LCQ or barely even making night shows. So again, maybe a little bit of a disagreement some people think there, but that's where I'm at with it. So moving on to the 450 Supercross class, again, most of this payout jump has been to the 250s, which I'm really excited to see personally. Again, the 250 class, there was a lot of guys that would just give up racing it and roll around in the 450 class at the end of an LCQ because it paid so much better. 450 LCQ, the old payout was, let's see here, $1,000 for last place in the 450 LCQ. But if you were on the bubble, $1,400 for fifth, $1,350, barely making the main was $2,000. Where the new payout has definitely jumped that. Again, for the 450 class, we actually have 2022 numbers to compare to 23, but it also hasn't been drastic. Let's go for first place. Used to be $12,000 to win. Now it's going to be $14,000. Second used to be $6,000. Now it's $7,000. Third, $4,300 versus $4,500. You get my point. As you see the list here scrolling, you will see a much more minor difference between each of the positions, anywhere from $200 to $300, sometimes a little less. And then again, it drifts into the LCQ the same, albeit we see some bigger differences in the LCQ. Fifth place on the old one again was $1,400. New one, it's $2,000. $1,350 for six in the LCQ. Now it's $1,900. So again, these guys that are really on the cusp of being on a factory team or even on a good support team, they're getting the biggest extra bump in this case. So, but overall, again, the 450 class was as big. So if that's what they were limited to on money, I'm stoked to see in 250. Albeit it also would be cool to see some of that mid-pack growth in the 450s be a little bit larger. And hopefully that's what we see next come up in the sport. So the per event purse in 2022 for the 450 class was a little over $90,000. Now for 23, it is just over $104,000. So again, not as big of a jump as the 250s. The complete 450 class purse for all 17 rounds used to be a little over $1.5 million. Now it's a bit over $1.7 million. We're going to give you a couple quick stats as well to how this compares to the World Supercross Championship that we saw debut last year. So per event, we went from paying between 450 and 250 class a little over $127,000. Now we're paying $180,000 per event. World Supercross, of course, is paying out $250,000 per event. However, World Supercross only did 2 races last year. They'll do somewhere between 4 and 6 in 23. US Supercross is doing 17 rounds as usual. World Supercross pays that against 44 riders per event, where US is paying that against 80 riders per event. So a little less money, but more guys have an opportunity to make money and more races to do it. The other thing we're going to cover before we kind of just scroll through and show you what the guys made at A1 is what we suspect this will do to the AMA Pro Motocross purse and Super Motocross. So if you were checking out the headlines, seeing those World Super Motocross Championship announcements that were combined from Feld Motorsports and MX Sports, they were saying the total payout would be around $10 million in prize money. Well, what they were referring to was $10 million across all 3 series. Still a bump, considering when you look at the old payout between Supercross and Motocross used to be around $3.7 million total. So we're seeing an increase of just under $6.3 million being added to the championship. Now, what we've heard is a rumor. This is not confirmed again, but it seems to be what most of the people in the paddock are talking about around the pits and industry, is that Super Motocross will see around $5 million in total purse and payouts between their 3 races, between the individual purse for 250 and 450 class, plus a big championships points fund for both classes. So right now, you only get championship bonuses really if you're on teams where if you're, let's say an Alex Ray at a Cade Clace and somebody that makes on the 450 class into Super Motocross, you finish 20th in combined points. Like there's actually cash to finish there. We'll have to see what those payouts are at. We're sure they're going to make a big publicize it, really publicize that and push it when that championship comes around. But again, the payout adjustments to Supercross and Motocross have been a little bit quieter, even though there has been that additional added in. Again, with just over $3 million being used for Supercross this year, that leaves us with just under $7 million for Pro Motocross and Super Motocross. And if you take $5 million of that out for Super Motocross, that's going to leave us with just shy of $2 million for the 23 Pro Motocross Championship. That would compare to the just around 1.6 million that they were paying in 22. So we're going to see an increase just shy of 400,000. If again, the Super Motocross 5 million ends up being true, we would see an adjustment of just over 400,000 for Pro Motocross. And it also a difference in how it'd be paid out, because the prior championship paid out per moto. It still will in 23, but we had 24 motos across 12 events in 22. In 2023, we're only going to race 20 motos because we're only racing 11 events. The Outdoor Pro Motocross Championship has dropped from 12 total races to 11. So that drops our motos from 24 to 20. So the purse is going to go up for Pro Motocross, not as big as anything else, not as the other series, but it will also increase a little more per position because there will also be 4 less motos raced that they'll have to be deducted and split between. So again, that's just what we're hearing as of now. None of that confirmed. We'll see as Pro Motocross comes around what those purses actually end up being. And then once we get closer to Super Motocross, of course. And then lastly, we're going to show you what the guys made at A1 based off their purse. Again, you may look at this and go, where do the guys make all the money then? It's very well known in our sport that your top guys make bonuses from the OEMs. 250 class to win, somewhere around 50 million. Most of the riders there don't have extra endorsements because they don't have gear deals or energy drinks. That's tied into the team, unless you're the Lawrence brothers. If you add in a little bit of endorsements, some purse money, they may be making $65,000 to $70,000 for a win. Those bonuses only usually go to third, maybe fifth on some teams. Beyond that, those riders aren't even eligible at the factory level for any contingency from an OEM, where if you're on a smaller team or a privateer, you're probably eligible for your contingency in 10th place, which with your OEM might pay another $800,000 on top of your purse. 450 class, though, is a little bit different where, an Eli Tomac is probably making about $100,000 from Yamaha to win between gear deal, energy drink deal, other endorsements, purse. He's anywhere from maybe 140 to 160 all in, maybe even north of that. Really depends on those endorsement deals. What is Alpine Star paying for win? What is Bell? What is Monster, etc. If any of that, if any of those do have individuals. And then again, 450 class is typically only top 2 to 3 positions get those kind of good bonuses. Some teams maybe down to 5th, and then same thing if you're on a factory level team and you're getting 5th or 6th, you don't even get to collect contingency. You're just purse only. But if you're on a mid-level team, you actually can probably collect contingency or some sort of negotiated bonuses from an OEM for 8th, 9th, 10ths, things of that nature. So again, we're just scrolling through and showing you 250 and 450 for A1. If you'd like to see what the guys kind of make all season purse, we're going to keep updating this feature every week over on VitalMX.com. I'll occasionally do a video, but it'll always be on written form. You can hit the link in the description to check that out. It'll be updated after every Supercross, then Pro Motocross, then Super Motocross, adding it all together based off name, event, and everything, so we can keep track of that. See where the $10 million ends up going and who ends up making the most. So appreciate you checking out this video. If you liked it, give us a thumbs up and subscribe, please, and keep checking us out for more great content.